Hello, and welcome to Ameliorate. This is going to be another demo video of the updates that have happened in the recent couple months, and this will also be in blog formats that you can find in the description below. Before we get into the features, basically these last couple months I've been focused on kind of trying to reduce the clutter in the interface. I was spending a little time on trying to socialize the tool a bit, and I got some feedback early on that for new users, like the tool is a little still hard to use, hard to know what's going on without, especially without going through the tutorial and the documentation. So wanted to try and improve that, and reducing clutter is a little like first step for that. And there's some other miscellaneous improvements that I will show. So without further ado, let's just start off here. You may have noticed that the colors have changed a little bit. This is what they used to look like. This is, I guess, kind of related to clutter, where some of the colors are really dark, like problem and detriment. Some are really bright, like effect. You can't barely see the edge here. And there's some saturation differences. Now I kind of made the nodes a little more consistent, a little less calling out your attention. I think there's some improvements probably that could still be made. If you have ideas for improving the colors, make them look nicer, I'd be happy to hear them. But yeah, that. I guess I can also show you the details. Have also changed some colors. Again, just making the colors a little more consistent in terms of brightness and saturation. I think one big thing towards reducing the clutter is now there's this option to show or hide indicators. You see like the badges on the bottom right and the upper right, including the score. These can be toggled off. And actually, these are off by default now because after playing with it, I thought it made such a big difference that it really helps understand the diagram a bit better. And I think it's a little more emphasized on a bigger diagram here. So this is what it kind of looked like before, and with it off, there's just like less distraction. You can read through the nodes a little more, or a little easier. And I guess also like indicators are kind of like if you're a new user coming in, you probably don't really know what it means right away. And you don't really need to know about them until you kind of have an understanding of what the nodes are in the first place. So I expect the use will typically be like, okay, you come in, you read some of the nodes, get an idea for the relations, and then you want to get more of the details, and you can turn that on and look through it, score some things. I shall also mention that this was also an idea from feedback I got, so that's really appreciated that, and I think that was super helpful. Along a similar vein, when the indicators are on, they used to be a little more in your face, like dark gray and black. They kind of stand out a bit. In the node handles here, you can see are also kind of like, just to clarify, these are like how you create edges between nodes. So they're kind of big, and so you can grab them, but it is a little cluttery. Now if we go to what we're currently looking at, node handles are hidden by default if you only have read-only access. If you're not editing, you don't need to create edges. There is this blue node handle when there's like a hidden node, and that still shows. It'll still be hidden if you have indicators off. But the other indicators here, yeah, you can see they're white when they're not indicating anything, and light gray rather than like a darker gray. You can see the difference here. Yeah, they're just overall softer, so they don't take your attention as much. And the next thing, you can already see it here actually. So oftentimes edge labels would be hidden behind other nodes or behind other labels. Um, and I wanted to try and avoid that just because I feel like it feels less cluttered, that you're seeing everything if they're not overlapping with each other. So I added this option, avoid edge level overlap here, that you can see if you look here at this edge, yeah, it'll kind of like draw around and affect the layout a little bit to make it not hidden. It happened here too as well. Just toggle that on and off really quick. Yeah. I wanted to make this default. Unfortunately, there are a couple issues with it. So I think these issues can be dealt with, but they require a little more effort. So I just wanted to get it out there. One of the issues is that like there's kind of an awkward angle that these edges draw at. So it's trying to avoid overlap, and so this like edge path is coming directly from the layout algorithm rather than when it's off. It's just a simple Bezier curve between the two nodes. Yeah, so this is kind of like an awkward angle, and I think sometimes it might be worth it to have the awkward angle, but the edges dodge. But it's a little annoying, so I didn't want it on by default. Also, here in this more complicated map, let's see. So they avoid each other. Got some more of these angles that are awkward. What was the other thing? Oh yeah, it may be less hard to see off the bat, but it actually the impact on the layout algorithm actually sometimes creates more layers of nodes. So a layer is like vertically aligned set of nodes. So this is a layer. This is one layer. This is a layer. So more layers is kind of like spreads out the diagram a little more. Can make it a little more hectic, at least in this case, where if we have it off, all these initial pieces of the problem are in one layer. It's kind of nice to see them right next to each other. But the avoiding the edge label overlap kind of negatively impacts that. And again, that's something that can be dealt with to not impact the layout that way, but takes a little more effort than I wanted to put in. So we've got this option. The next thing, I was building this massive diagram here, kind of comparing the trade-offs of having open source software versus closed source software. And I noticed that when I was making the trade-off table, the criteria table, that I wanted to see the specific pieces of the solutions that were relevant for a criteria as I was scoring it. So I added this view context and diagram button, which just shows, so like for example, the closed source solution has some pieces that are relevant for this security vulnerabilities criteria. If we click on this button, it just shows that path. Let's see, we can see this a little nicer if we adjust so that it sets filters. The button just sets a bunch of filters. These are a little more advanced to use, but if we adjust this, we can see these are all the details for the closed source solution. I put way more details on the open source solution. But you can see that there are these other details that aren't relevant for the criteria. And so using that button, this dude, helps us see just the pieces of the solution that are relevant. We can also do that. There's probably way more. Let's see. Yeah, there's way more details on the open source one. But we can also do this on the criteria itself. So with the button on here, it'll show all of the pieces of solutions that are relevant for all of the solutions. So if we do this, we'll see, closed source had this one set of nodes that was relevant, and open source had these. And so that button now shows both. Button is also on solution nodes, which just shows all of the pieces of that solution. So this one's going to show a billion things. Yeah. And you can right click as well for especially when you have the indicators off. So you can just do that. And then the next and last thing in this demo, let's see. I think this one will be a good map to show it. So I already have this high level standard filter, which shows, well, previously it just showed the core nodes, so problems and solutions, with one layer of nodes connected to them. But I found that some diagrams seem to want like fewer layers shown, and some want more layers shown based on like how wide and deep the diagram is. So I added this layers deep option. You can see the effect it has now. So showing 0 layers, it just shows the core nodes. Then we show like 1 layer from those core nodes and 2 layers. I'll go up and down a little bit just to show that. Yeah, that's kind of a neat thing. Again, filters are a little, I think, more advanced to use, but that's can be helpful. All right, so that is the updates for these last couple of months. Coming up, I will put a link to the backlog in the description that you can see exactly what I'm planning. But the focus is continuing on making the interface more intuitive. I think instead of reducing clutter, which we just kind of did, we'll be trying to kind of like rearrange the interface, put things in more intuitive spots. And yeah, got a couple designs for that I'm excited about. And besides that, I'll be doing more socializing about the tool, reaching out to people and stuff. So if you have anybody that you think would be interested in the tool, let me know. Yeah, I think that's about it. So I will see you guys in a couple of months. Cheers.